got your MAGA Mac guys here on Birds 365, and we got our buddy from down the shore, ESPN 97.3, the host of the Sports Bash, Mike Gill. All right, Gill, what shirt you got on?
A high school football shirt. Our buddy Colin Thompson is the offensive coordinator for the Caper Tigers. They sent me a shirt. Coach Lance Bailey give him a shout out. They sent me a little care package that had a bunch of shirts when they did their military day.
Nice. I've been trying to get a damn something from Colin Thompson, a hat or something for his his new company. He keeps promising to give it to me.
Yeah, I talked to him last night. I said I'm going to rep your shirt on Birds 365 tomorrow. So maybe he's watching.
Yeah, see, Colin, if you do it, I'll rep the shirt. Come on.
Well, I'm not, because he's not going to send me one. And what the hell? Isn't a caper a fish? What do you got, a football team named after a fish?
The Caper Tigers. It's Lower Cape May. The Caper Tigers.
Yeah.
A famous alum.
Their team, the Capers, really?
The famous alum would be Matt Caesar, former Villanova.
Matt Caesar, Chicago Cub, right? Yeah.
World Series champion, Matt Caesar, and Villanova national champion. For the football team. He was a dual sport star down there for the Caper Tigers.
He was Bo Jackson for the Caper Tigers.
Learn something every day.
He had a cup of coffee with the Phillies in camp.
Did he? I remember that.
In the COVID year, I think he was down there in spring training.
Nice.
Did not come north.
Some Lower Cape May knowledge. Nice to have it. Where should we start, Jody? We were just talking about that. Now, Mike knows. Here's an interesting part. We were talking back and forth about the timing of the ankle surgery. And if the Eagles wanted to hide this information or not, or whomever, maybe Jalen Hurts' camp. Now, you had me on your show, Mike, and the day before we knew about the ankle surgery, I mean, there were already people complaining. Oh, how could you give you gave me a couple text messages you got. How could you give Jalen Hurts $255 million? Why not let him play out the final year of his deal? You already have these people. So I guess that's my question is, like, what's the big deal about minor ankle surgery that people are trying to hide it? Are you in my camp or
Well, wait a minute. Did you guys know about this surgery before Tim McManus reported it yesterday?
No, that's what I'm saying.
No, he was saying.
So when did you have this conversation with Mike about his surgery?
No, he said
the listeners were sending text messages in saying.
Oh, the listeners knew that he had this ankle surgery before us?
No, and they didn't, and they were still complaining.
No, they were complaining that they could have waited because he has another year left on the deal. Some people think the Eagles panicked and gave him this money before they had to give him the money because he was contractually signed to play another year. So you had that camp of people that said he only did this 1 year. Why would you give him $255 million?
What does that have to do with the ankle surgery?
Because we had mentioned that you said I asked you, Jody. I said, well, why? And you said, well, people are going to be concerned, and it's going to be a blown up. What I'm trying to say with Mike's listeners is, there was already concern. They didn't need the ankle surgery. Well, so I don't know what's being accomplished.
That helps to make my point. If there are people already with concern, you want to give them more reasons for concern and let everybody know he had ankle surgery?
Well, what I'm trying to say is,
the haranguing will only get louder.
If somebody's at that level, you're not timesing it by 10. They're at that level. If you're a lunatic, you're a lunatic. There's not levels of it. So
of course there's levels to lunacy. What are you talking about?
I don't know. Again, what's being accomplished is my only question. I can't get to that bottom line. What's being accomplished by hiding that Jalen Hurts had minor ankle surgery to have hardware removed from an injury that was 4 or 5 years.
I will say this, based on your conversation before, I'm no newsbreaker, but I have broken news before. It's like the worst 24 hours of your life, which is why I'm not a newsbreaker. But I had the story that Mickey Moniak broke his wrist and was going to be out. So I put the information out. For about an hour, people just blasting me because it had been reported earlier that he had an MRI and there was nothing reported that had been wrong. Well, I got some information. I called a second person, got the same information. Well, the team did not want that to be out there yet. Well, finally, about an hour and a half goes by, which felt like 15 days. Jim Salisbury did confirm that I was correct with the story, but the team did not want the news to get out, I guess, at that time, because they had to make a move, it was before the season started. If you remember, Mickey got hit in the hand in a preseason exhibition game.
Right.
So the question I guess you're asking, John, is why would they wait, or would they wait, or would Tim wait? I guess the answer to that is, if I wasn't waiting and I'm on the lowest of the low scale of news breaking, I can't imagine Tim at ESPN is being told, hey, hold this off for as long as possible until we can figure out a way. Now, from my understanding, talking to you yesterday,
by
John,
the way, I don't know that. I just threw that out as a possibility. I
know.
Maybe somebody asked Tim to hold the story. I haven't talked to Tim. I haven't talked to my boy T-Mac in years, so I don't know why Tim reported the way that he reported. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah.
Why did it come out at this time if this minor procedure was done upwards of 2 months ago? And
I got that. I'm just giving you.
Nobody knows, so that's why we're speculating.
I'm just giving you the information that I would say. In terms of me, the team didn't say anything to me. Like, I didn't know I had this information. I didn't ask them for anything. So I would say, listen, I got two people told me. They both told me the exact same thing. Okay. Now, from talking to you, John, yesterday, my understanding is, because I did not read the full Tim story because it was on when I was on the air. This is an injury that occurred when he was in college, right?
Yeah, Alabama. Not even.
So this isn't like Alabama. He hurt himself. No, he did have that ankle injury two seasons ago that kept him out of the game. I would have been more concerned,
if it were that.
And he had surgery after that too when he got hurt against the Giants.
Yeah, he did.
Season.
Right. So this seems to be something that would be pretty routine, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's after Tim.
Now we're legislating the same thing. It's not routine when you have surgery to clean up hardware 5 years after the fact. That makes it non-routine. Is it a major procedure? No, it's minor. It's just minor surgery. You go in, you take out some stuff that you put in there to help the injury heal. But it doesn't usually happen 5 years after the fact. If you get the hardware put in, you get the hardware taken out.
That's true. Yes. You don't hear of guys getting random ankle surgery 5 years after something occurred.
That was the point that I was making.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, did it say in the article whether or not he was going to be missing any mini camp, training camp, that kind of stuff?
No, he's expected back. Remember, it happened. The surgery happened in February, so right after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he's already been back doing his routine in the Eagles training center. So,
April 24th is the start of off-season work. He's going to be there with bells on, probably talking to us certainly during the week about his new contract. But if the Eagles had any concern, and by the way, that's the arbiter of this entire thing. If the Eagles had any concern health-wise at this stage, they're not going, hey, we're going to give you $255 million. Then your text message person, you do have an extra year. There are more concerns health-wise if you have a significant, say, degenerative condition or something.
I will say, John, yesterday, a lot of these text messages followed up saying, now that I've seen the breakdown, admitting
now they love it. Now they love it.
Well, I think the thought was, see, you have this camp of people that feel like when you pay the quarterback, the team is now in peril. You can no longer improve the team. And once you sign him, and then I guess the question is, did he do enough to make you feel like if you lost A.J. Brown because you couldn't afford him anymore? Did he do enough because you lost Devonta Smith because you could no longer afford him? Did he do enough because you can't bring back Landon Dickerson when his contract's up? has he shown that he's that type of player that if he starts to lose pieces, that you could Patrick Mahomes lost Tyreek Hill. They got back to a Super Bowl and won. Now, I guess the question is Jalen Hurts the same type of quarterback with that money that if he starts to lose players around him because his money prohibits them from bringing that type of player back? This contract structure seems to be set up so that they can bring maybe not all those people back, but a lot more than you would have anticipated when you signed a deal of that structure or of that much money.
Yeah. Even I wasn't concerned. I thought, maybe the Eagles would get 2, potentially 3 years where you can sort of have the championship window to build the best roster possible. Then you're going to have some issues if you didn't start reworking the deal. They really got 4 to where before they can have to readjust, so to speak, and we'll see where Jalen is at that point. I was pretty impressed by the deal, I got to admit. And people tell me a lot that we talked to Brad Spielberger on the show yesterday. He's one of the best cap guys in the business. There's always a doomsday scenario. We just went through it essentially from a financial perspective with the pandemic. First time ever the salary cap went backwards. And now that as we're moving forward, the TV deal is in place, so the structure and what it's going to be. The general idea is the cap is going to keep going up $20 million a year. So $1, and Brad explained this yesterday, Mike. $1 today, a salary cap dollar, is not going to be the same as $1 4 years from now. It's going to be much more valuable. Are you worried about paying the credit card debt 4 years, 5 years down the road when the cap number explodes?
I'm worried about paying my credit card debt 4 years down the road, not the Eagles. They are much, but I don't even own a credit card. So, no, because
that's some news, by the way. How do you get through life without a credit card? I wish, but
no credit cards for me.
No,
I'm not worried.
You have a debit card. You're not that old school. You're paying cash, are you?
I do have a debit card, yeah.
Okay,
but no credit
debit card is basically a credit card. You just
when I go to the counter and they say debit or credit, I only say debit. I don't want anything racking up on my credit card.
Good on you.
That's good. Man. That's discipline, by the way.
I'm what you call in the credit world a ghost. I don't exist, right?
I'm very impressed by that, Mike. It's
Thank
very
you.
Disciplined.
But no, I have no. Howie Roseman doesn't give this deal out without thinking 4 years down the road, how do I maneuver my way out of this deal? Or Brad Spielberger, whoever's the guy pulling in charge to say, here's the deal. This is what it's going to look like. There's an $80 million balloon sitting at the end. Well, he essentially, when you look at this deal, it's like he preemptively restructured the deal inside the deal so that the deal has a balloon payment at the end of $80 million. So what they'll do is they'll approach him at that time and ask him to restructure the deal and then take the $80 million and sprinkle that out over the length of the next contract that he's going to sign. And essentially, as John mentioned, you get $20 million extra each year in salary cap space. They're just going to take that $80 million and move it over the next deal that he gets, which, keep this in mind, he got a $255 million deal. The next one he gets probably going to be $400 million. So they already have accounted for that deal, I would imagine, right? I mean, if I'm no credit card guy, I'm accounting for that deal. I'm sure Brad Spielberger and Howie Roseman clearly have that mindset already in their head that they've got another payment coming down the road, and we'll just sprinkle that money. John always brings up, Roseman has the best job ever. He can do these things without fear of it blowing up in his face and getting fired. So he can take these type of chances and make these big deals knowing 8 years from now, I can do it again. Most guys don't think they're going to be around 8 years from now to be able to do this. So all their contracts are structured for the team now in the window that they're there. He's able to structure deals for now and 8 years down the road because he knows he's going to be there 8 years down the road. It's a heck of a way to have a job, isn't it?
Job security is a really nice thing to give you flexibility to do things the way that you want, and Howie's earned it. So more power to him that he's in the trust position that he is with Jeff Lurie. All right, we still have you scheduled again next week for your usual Wednesday spot, but we got to get your read on the draft, even though we're more than a week out. Do you think Jalen Hurts' contract extension affects the way the Eagles look at this upcoming draft, even in the smallest of ways?
Well, then, Jody, if you are pontificating this morning about the timing of the ankle news, wouldn't you then say, well, they brought Paris Johnson in yesterday? Does that show you that they're looking in that direction? I would answer your question as a no, though. I don't think it means, hey, we signed the quarterback, now we need to protect him with a guy at number 10. Paris Johnson, Peter Skronsky is the guy we kept hearing. Now, yesterday, Johnson comes in for a visit. He's played some right guard at Ohio State. They moved him to the left tackle position. I think he projects more as a tackle. So he's the kind of guy that can say, hey, you played right guard. Can we stick you in there? And then you're the heir apparent to play right tackle at some point. Possible. But no, I don't think, that they're going to change. If Nolan Smith is the highest guy on their board, I think they take Nolan Smith over Paris Johnson. At this point, the Bijan Robinson stuff's been talked about to death. If they want to take him, that's who they're going to take. Now, you could make a slight argument, I guess, to say, well, we signed the quarterback to this huge deal. If you're in another camp, I know, John, you're on one side to say they don't want to change the way Hurts plays. But if they gave him this deal and they say, well, let's get him Bijan Robinson so he doesn't have to run as much. We'll get a guy that can kind of, handle that for him. I don't think that's going to happen either. So to answer your question, Jody, no, I don't think the deal changes their mindset on draft day. I think they're going to draft the guy, the best guy available when it's their turn, or take the best deal available when it's their turn.
Mike got a chance to talk to Mark Dominic yesterday. He did his pre-draft conference call with reporters. He's close to Howie. He and Howie came in around the same time, and John Snyder as well. Those guys are very close. And he jokes he's the only one not standing because he couldn't find the quarterback. So 67% hit rate, pretty good. But we had Chris Landry on the show earlier in the week. He had the number at 16 to 17 at true first round picks. Mark was a little more liberal. He had it at 22. We all know how he's going to move around. Is he going to trade up? Is he going to trade back? Now, Mark said, you know what? He's got the quarterback now. He's been operating in this sort of past couple years. Well, we don't know. People forget. They try to memory hold us. 12 months ago, we were talking about, is Jalen Hurts the guy? They didn't like Kenny Pickett. It was a bad quarterback draft. They had to kick back one of their 3 first-round picks to this year, all as an insurance plan in case they had to go up and get the Bryce Youngs of the world and C.J. Strouds of the world. Now they have the quarterback. So Mark said he's going to be aggressive. He's going to go up to get one of those 3 defenders. And he was talking about Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter. You buying that, or you thinking about him moving back more than moving up?
Well, last week I think we talked about the possibility of moving up to number 3 with Arizona taking 6 calls, and would it make sense that Philadelphia was one of those 6 calls? Would I buy it? Yeah, sure. Because you're right. When you have a quarterback on the rookie deal, which they did, but they also had the Wentz deal hovering over them at the same time in dead money, which kind of precluded them from, doing some other things. But what do they have? 16 of 22 starters signed already on this team. So they do have a lot of younger talent that, listen, give Roseman some credit. He has been killed in the past for some of his draft misses, but now a lot of players drafted are performing. Mailata, Dickerson, Goddard, Smith. He just lost Miles Sanders, but that was another pick of his on the offensive side of the ball. So he has built the offense up where I don't want to say he doesn't have to think about it as much, but that he can be aggressive to go get a guy if he really, really likes him. The one issue is he doesn't have the picks in tow right now for next year. They're going to have a boatload of picks, we think, with all the compensatory picks that are coming to them next year. So if he's going to make a trade on draft night with picks for next year, it's going to have to be the ones that they already own. They can't give up an imaginary pick that they don't have yet. So do they have enough ammo right now to go from 10 up to a player? How far? 3? Probably, but what will that leave them with in this year's draft? If they want to do stuff with next year's draft, they're going to have a lot of picks, but they're only restrained to the picks that they actually own currently. So that will make it a little interesting. But, if Jalen Carter starts to get to 5, 6, I wouldn't be shocked at all if they said, let's do it. That's the guy. Let's go out and get him.
All right, Mike, got to get you tied down on the running back position. Rumors out there that the Eagles could have interest in Dalvin Cook. The sports betting books are putting out odds on where Dalvin Cook could land, and the Philly name always pops up on any of the viable players. The Eagles could trade because Howie Roseman likes the deal. I don't get this a little bit. People are saying, well, we can't use the 10th pick in the draft on a 22-year-old projected to be the best running back in the draft in the last 5 years. But let's trade for a guy who's sneaking up on 30 years old, already established, already proven. Bijan Robinson hasn't had one carry in the NFL yet. I get that. So it's a different type of player. But we want a guy who's well into his 20s and is already making more than $10 million per than a guy who you would pick at number 10 and be on his rookie deal for the last 4 years. Do the Eagles want to upgrade at running back, or are they okay going in with Rashad Penny this year?
I think what they like is going down the discount rack. And if they can get a guy like Cook, who has been
Cook's not on the discount rack.
Well, that's the thing. What do they have to give up to get him? If they,
I'm talking about his salary. He's scheduled to make over $10 million next year. There's no way that you can consider a $10 million plus running back on the discount rank. You can't.
No. I'm talking about what do I have to give up to get him? If you're telling me, hey, we'll take a 4th round pick just to get him out of here.
The Vikings will do what the Rams did yesterday. Yeah. You swap 7th round positions.
There you go.
It doesn't touch
That's
a damn
the point.
thing.
You're not paying him
salary.
You're not paying him the $14 million because you're making the Vikings pay the majority of the salary. You're probably going to pay him like $4 million. So it's like a baseball move. The Vikings are essentially buying some draft capital.
Correct. Exactly.
If that
deal
went
the Vikings are willing to just say what the Rams did, Jody, you're right. You take him, we'll pay you to get rid of him. Give us a 5th rounder just to say we got him out of here because we're ready to start over. I think the Eagles would be interested in that type of deal because they get the player kind of on the contract on the way out. They don't have to worry about it as opposed to a guy for the 5 years. And they have Penny here already, who's already questionable with injury issues. Cook, his problem has been he's always hurt. We only know who Alexander Madison is because he plays all the time because Cook is constantly hurt. But when he's not hurt, he is. I mean, he's right up there with Kamara as one of the most talented two-way backs in this league. So if they can figure out a way to get him, I think, Jody, I think they probably would say we can give up a back-end pick to get an established player. Yeah, he might have an injury history, but that allows us to focus on some other areas. I would think that would be more probable than taking a running back at number 10 or anywhere in that first round.
The Eagles really liked Dalvin Cook in 2017. The Eagles really wanted a running back in 2017. For people that don't know, they wanted Christian McCaffrey in the first round. The second round, they wanted Dalvin Cook at 43. The Vikings kind of knew that. They moved up to 41 to get him. The Eagles ended up drafting Sidney Jones. So I brought this up to people, by the way, the Eagles aren't getting Dalvin Cook because the betting markets are saying it. You get all these emails with these different sports books, and because the Eagles are the Eagles, they're always in the conversation. They're always near the top. One of them said the Eagles were the favorite to get Dalvin Cook. The other one said they were the second favorite. I'm sure you got these emails as well, Jody. Probably you as well, Mike. Now, I will say he's only 27. He you mentioned the injuries. He's been healthy. He's had 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. Really productive guy. Really good player. However, I mean, he's carried the football a lot. There is a lot of tread off that tire.
Yeah.
And you've seen the decline start already. That's why Minnesota wants to move to Alexander Madison. That's why, because he's not the player he once was. If the Vikings cut him and he wants to come here to ring shop for the veteran minimum or somewhere near that, a little bit more because he's still a good player. Maybe 4 or 5 million, I could buy it, but they're not giving anything up for Dalvin Cook. Mike knows this. 97% of the time with the big name trap, no on Allen Robinson, no on Dalvin Cook. That's why I said with Budda Baker, I'll think about that one. But 97% of the time,
it's one of my favorite things to do, Jody, is when somebody is either rumored to be released or freshly released. When I get John on at that moment to say, big name just got released, because you're right. The betting markets know the Philadelphia fans are so passionate and somewhat lunatical. Is that a word?
Go with it.
A lot of lunatics to
that they will go out and, put money on. The Eagles are going to get. I mean, you take a player like Ezekiel Elliott, who they don't even like. But
I couldn't say no fast enough on Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
I think I called up Mike to get on the show earlier just to say no on Ezekiel Elliott.
The Budda Baker one's funny. I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if you guys saw the clip with him on with Kay Adams yesterday, I guess it was, where he's like, man, I like that coach in Philly. I mean, he is putting out all the nuggets.
But Mike, that was from the Super Bowl. That was
right. But the clip has been circulating around.
The clip. Somebody put the clip up, and a lot of people bought it like he was talking yesterday. That's one of my problems with the Jordan. A lot of thing we're talking about, the surgery, that happened back in the Super Bowl when Budda was just saying, oh, the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. They're talking, Kay's talking to him about the Super Bowl. He's like, I like Nick Sirianni. Yeah. There's nothing more to it than he was being a nice guy and saying, and he probably does. But
that question was being asked a lot at the Super Bowl. I do recall that because of Sirianni, people getting asked, would you like to play for a guy who's jumping up in the crowd, everybody to get him going?
Yeah.
So Budda likes Nick Sirianni, but doesn't like Jonathan Gannon. That's not good. That's not good from an Arizona perspective.
But where are people getting he doesn't like Jonathan Gannon? He wants more money. He wants guaranteed money.
He took shots at the organization, John. When he asked for more money, he did take shots. He didn't just come in and go, listen, I'm the best safety in the National Football League. I need to be paid the top dollar. No, he took shots at the organization and the way things have been run.
Well, the owner's a disaster. The GM,
the owner hired Jonathan Gannon.
The GM's gone, but that's the point. That what the organization he's talking about, Cliff Kingsbury, Steve Keim, they're gone. It's now Monty Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon. He doesn't even know those guys. Now, maybe he hates them. I don't.
But I think it's clear that Budda, and by the way, if you watch them, what were they on? Were they on Hard Knocks or the in-season one?
In-season Hard Knocks.
Right. Baker is a very passionate and just outspoken type of player.
Well, that's another reason. He is a leader. He is a
and you can tell that team's just not good enough right now. And I think that frustration boils over as well, is that I'm on a team that's rebuilding. It's not good enough. I don't have guaranteed money. Get me the heck out of here. I think his personality is, we talked about last year with CJ Gardner-Johnson, people were worried about, he was so boisterous. We never really saw that on the field. Like, Budda Baker is the same type of, he is very boisterous on the field. He's also very boisterous off the field. And you saw him in that video, in that TV show They really found his personality, and his personality is passionate. That dude wants to win, and I think he understands they're not ready to win anytime soon. I mean, keep in mind, you sign the quarterback, so now you're stuck with that deal because they didn't have Roseman structure the contract there, so they gave him a deal where they're going to be stuck with that kid, and he's not even ready to play for half, if not more than half the season. The backup quarterback's hurt as well. They're basically going into the season with the third-string quarterback. So if you're Buda Baker, you're already going in saying, we got no shot this year.
Yeah, probably. And, from that perspective, maybe Monty and JG are like, we're not ready. And by the time we are ready, Buda won't be a big part of it. So maybe that helps the Eagles down the road work out a deal. But all I'm saying is I have no idea if Buda Baker doesn't like Jonathan Gannon or does like Jonathan Gannon. I know he's upset with his contract, and that happens all the time with veteran players. The guaranteed money runs out. You want a new deal.
Well, would
it just happened with Darius Slay.
You just talk about a new GM. Would they be boisterous enough to say, this wasn't my quarterback? I'm drafting my guy. We'll cut this guy. We'll take the dead money and move on. That would be
they let the last quarterback, the last coach do that. He came in after they used the first round pick on Rosen at number 10. He goes, no. That's your quarterback. Screw this. I want to take Kyler Murray with the number 1 pick. So they let the last coach do it. So why wouldn't they let Gannon do it if he wanted to?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like if they just said, listen, because how many teams are taking dead money on now? Now this would be a monstrous amount of dead money with Kyler Murray. But it would be that would completely rock the draft on that night. Nobody thinks they're taking a quarterback. But if they took
by the way, I'm sure that's what Jeffrey Lurie played into when he was trying to get Jonathan Gannon to come back and saying, hey, dude,
you don't want to jump into this dumpster fire that is the Arizona Cardinals.
Stay here. I'm going to give you a big raise. Be the deputy, and you're going to be a head coach down the road. That's probably the sales pitch. And by the way, Jeffrey admitted, yes, he did do that. Not the pitch, but he tried to get Jonathan Gannon to come back at the league meetings. That was probably his pitch. Look, Bill Bidwell's he's not going to allow you to take on that dead money if you don't like a player. He's not going to allow you to do things. He's basically, you saw that NFLPA report card about organizations and facilities. Cardinals were down at the bottom. They're charging players for food. They're charging players for food.
Exactly right. So then you question Jonathan Gannon. Why the hell did you take the job?
32, baby. Only 32 of them.
So you don't think if you're Jeff Lurie, you can't sell that? Come back and hang with us, and we'll pay you like a head coach. You're that good that you're going to get another shot. You're right. If you're offered a job, there is no promise that you're ever going to be offered it again.
On that note, by the way, and I think I brought this up to you, we'll go Seinfeld and bring it back to the beginning of the story here. Roseman was the most hated man, I think, in the history of I've been doing radio for however long, 20 years, I don't know, nowhere near as long as you guys, but that guy was probably the most hated figure in the city, period. Period. I don't even think there was a number 2. People hated that guy. And I said to John yesterday, that guy has never had a rumor of leaving. No one has tried to hire him. He could easily say, man, this place hates me. I'll go to Detroit where they'll appreciate me. I'll go to Cincinnati. I'll go to Cleveland. I'll go to Buffalo. I'll go to this Jets. Never. The first chance.
That doesn't happen much with GMs in the NFL, Mike. Give
no,
me a juicy
but I'm just
rumor.
saying, my point is
a general manager changing teams in the NFL.
Well, they usually get fired. There's guys who
get fired, and picked up somewhere. Yeah. But John Gannon, they hated that guy, and he said, "I got a job offer. See you guys later. You don't appreciate what I do. I'm out of here." Roseman has gone from the most hated sports figure in the town for a plethora of years. And
he had to get the darkest tint on his windows.
and now, again, like I said, the guy has never said, you know what? I want a new challenge. This isn't for me. This place hates me. This guy embraces it. He should be the most popular figure in this town, bar none. It's amazing the turnaround. This guy's turnaround has been unparalleled. I can't think of another guy who's close, Jody. You've been doing this longer than me. I mean, Norman Bremen was despised. Since him, I don't know that there's been a sports figure in Philadelphia that was hated more than Howie Roseman. And now, almost universally, tails stuck between legs all over Broad Street up there.
Yeah. Well, if people memory hole stuff, Mike, they just forget it and they turn the page.
Yeah.
That's what I always bring up. It's no use bringing up hypocrisy to a hypocrite because they don't care.
I have never been a Howie hater, and I have segments on my show where I invite people to text in to apologize to the man. I say free time right now to say I was wrong about Howie. And those people don't want to do it. They still don't want to admit that they hate it.
No, they're going to use memory loss as a great defense. Mike Gill got to run. We ran over. Thank you very much for staying as long as you did. We will talk to you next Wednesday when we will be one day away from the draft. Look forward to that, buddy. Thanks.
Thanks, all right, Mike. At Mike Gill Show on Twitter, Sports Bash 2 to 6, 97.3 if you're down the shore.
And he had a caper shirt on today. Next week, will he have a flounder shirt on?
I think he's got to go back to West Virginia. But
we're going with fish. I think he may stay in the fish mood. He may have a big bass shirt on. Mike Gill, tune in to find out. But we got a whole week to get to before Gill rejoins us. We only got a couple of minutes to go before Chris Franklin from NJ.com
joins us. We're off schedule, Jody. We're off schedule.
Stay right here with us on Birds 365.